Hi, I'm Richard Cannon, and this podcast is about the basic concepts of taking and following a bearing on my third year higher skills module at Bangor University. In this podcast, I'm going to cover the basic concepts of using a map and a compass to take and follow a bearing, various factors to watch out for, and things to be careful of whilst doing this. This skill is key for travelling in the mountains or general recreational wanderings. It can also be critical in emergency situations or when the weather closes in to get you out of trouble.
When planning your bearing, it is always helpful to know where you're starting from, where you're heading, and where you're finally planning to end up. Once you've established this, line your compass up along your intended direction of travel. Once this is done, rotate the graduated dial until the lines at the back of this point north, corresponding with grid north on the map. Once this is done, you have completed your bearing. To align yourself with your bearing, turn yourself until the red needle is inside the orienting arrow, and that points you along your way. And while we're on this small section of map, take note of the red road, the orange contour lines, the blue rivers and streams, the black fences and walls, and finally those grey areas, cliffs and crags.
So let's get our mountain boots on and go for a wander.
As you might be able to see, this is the area that we just looked at on the map, and we're now going to demonstrate the bearing that we also just showed you. That's Ollie. If you haven't been following where you are on the map, you're probably going to have to relocate. The simplest way of doing this is what Ollie's doing right now, where he's studying the surrounding environment and using it to correspond where he is on his map before he takes his bearing. When planning your journey along your bearing, it's probably helpful to pick a big, obvious feature, like this stream, to follow or handrail along. This is what Ollie has just cunningly noticed, and is probably planning that right now. See, Ollie's now taking his bearing, but because we're one step ahead, we know what's going on, so we'll let him get on with it. The map's exciting, all those dots and lines and symbols, but be wary of what's in the real world. See that? Could have ended in tears. People are more likely to be enjoying themselves when they're warm. For example, look at Ollie. Ain't he happy? Ollie's now using a convenient elevation marked on the map to double check that he's on the right path. Turns around, checks where he's going, and he's off on his way, confident that he's going to the right place. When he thinks he's reached his point, Ollie can continue for a small amount to reach his overshoot, assuming he has one. In this case, it's going downhill. By doing this, Ollie knows he's gone past where he needs to be, and heads back to the point where he's meant to be. If Ollie's still not sure, he can take an obvious feature, like that cliff that he's just pointed at. He then takes a bearing on the map from where he thinks he is, to the cliff. If these then line up in real life, he's a winner. An example of this would have been if Ollie had followed the gentle slope that was his overshoot, which becomes a very steep slope, made of rocks and stuff. Needless to say, if it was dark, it wouldn't have ended well. If you've ever tried navigating across a knee-deep bog, you'll know why this is a hazard. Or even planned a bearing that involves crossing what looks like a pretty little stream, but can involve some leaps of faith. Otherwise, you won't be able to enjoy this view, because you'll be lost, confused, and wondering where the hell you are. Thanks for listening. Bye bye now. Bye bye. Bye.